let's get into our final team of the day, and that being the Tennessee Titans. They obviously finished in last place last year. They were obviously one of the worst teams in the league, 3-14. They picked up Cam Ward. They said they kind of closed the book on the Will Levis era. Cam Ward is, fantastic quarterback out of Miami. What are you liking out of him?
He is. I think I said it early this episode. I don't like repeating like phrases that I say, but man, he's got an absolute piss missile for an arm. And not just arm strength, but like arm slots, arm angles, throwing in structure, throwing out of structure. It feels like he could be in the worst position. Like he could be like bending over backwards and he could just go like this and that ball's flying 40 yards. Like it is, for the listeners at home who aren't watching, I leaned all the way back in my chair so I'm parallel with the ground. Like he could be like that and flick the ball with his wrist and get it 40 yards out. Like Aaron Rodgers type ability to just rip a ball with minimal movement and minimal wasted movement. Like he's really good. He also brings great leadership to the locker room. Like if you watch some of the videos of him, like in press conferences and addressing the team after practice, like he is the guy in that locker room. He is the leader. And I would not be shocked if he's not wearing a C on his chest as a rookie. We're seeing that a lot more, especially for rookie quarterbacks. I think he's going to be a guy who's going to have a C on his chest heading into the season. And the biggest piece about him, he's a decisive decision maker, right? Like bad leaders aren't bad because they make bad decisions. Bad leaders are bad because they make no decisions, right? Like Cam Ward's the opposite of that. He's a good football player and he's a great leader because he makes decisions and he owns up to it. Like this is when I fell in love with him even more. Was, I don't know if you saw it, but he ripped an absolute perfect pass to Van Jefferson in the preseason game against the Falcons. He fit it between a closing safety and a corner that was trailing the route. Had Van Jefferson literally full extension in his hands, and Van Jefferson dropped it. And, Cam Ward could not have thrown a more perfect ball in that situation. Right after the game, they ask him about it, and he's like, yeah, I got to hit him in the chest. Like, that's on me. Like, I just like that's just Van and I trying to get a better connection. Like, I'm going to hit him next time right on his chest. And, like, I don't doubt that. If Van Jefferson somehow makes this roster, I do not doubt that Cam Ward, next time he throws him that pass, he's going to hit him right on the numbers. Because, like, that's so rare. Not rare, but, like, for a quarterback in his not his first game action, but one of his first game actions to rip such a great ball like that and blame himself, like, that's a winner. That's someone I want running my locker room. Like, I don't get, like, I love Kyler. If I could swap those two right now, I absolutely would, because it's not anything against Kyler, right? Like, I think Kyler's a good leader. He's a good quarterback. He's a good athlete. But just in terms of like the guy I want in my locker room, oh my God, Cam, like I would go to war for Cam Ward. He hasn't even played an NFL game yet. Like, and I would absolutely do that. I love this tape, love him, his human, and just like what I've heard. And that like solidified it. I'm like, yeah, I want the Titans to be good now. Like they might not be good this year, but like, man, I hope they push it.
To me, it also, like, I think that's commendable for him to want to take, like, in my opinion, a controlled risk in a preseason game. Like, why not? Like, why not experiment? Why not kind of push the limit of yourself, push the limit of your receiving core in a game that doesn't matter? Like, that's what these games are for. The games are for figuring out your roster, for running some weird plays, like just trying stuff out. So I think that's really impressive. For him to be a risk taker, but also not like, like I said, be in a controlled manner, like knowing when not to take risks. So that's obviously, like you said, a sign of a lot of maturity. Obviously, an offensive line that's really good and really good at protecting you gives you a lot more opportunity to make more of those risks. And although you're saying like he's really good at, making these throws when his body's even at like a 45-degree angle, you don't want that to happen a lot. So how is this offensive line improved in this offseason to help give Cam Ward some cushion to, really just get a feel for himself in 2025?
Yeah, and that starts with the head coach, Brian Callahan, son of Bill Callahan, obviously one of the best offensive line minds ever in NFL history. Brian comes from that tree, and it's not nepotism that he's in the position he is. Like, yeah, probably the initial opportunity, but he is just as good of an offensive line mind as his dad is, and he translates perfectly to this team, right? Like, they loaded up on offensive line. Pete Skoronski is one of the highlights on this offensive line as a young talent. I didn't like him as much coming out of college, but I think he slots in really well at guard, and I was projecting him as a tackle. Obviously, that's not the case. But outside of him, J.C. Latham should have a much better year or two. Struggled a little bit, but they're moving him. We brought this up earlier with Talise Fuaga last episode. They're bringing him from left tackle, putting him a right tackle at his natural position where he dominated some people. Like, I think that's going to be a really good move. They bring in Lloyd Cushenberry III last season. Now they bring in Kevin Zeitler this year. So a really impressive interior group with a lot of veteran presence and leadership. And then on the left side at left tackle, you have Dan Moore Jr., who signed a nice deal, but I think he's actually going to battle it out with Jackson Slater this entire year. Jackson Slater is a really good developmental piece out of Sacramento State. I think he's going to be really, really solid in his NFL career. I think Dan Moore just got a deal because that's just what the tackle market was, and they needed one, and they didn't have an answer at tackle, so they just signed him. I don't know if Jackson Slater is going to ever start this year, but I think he's going to get reps at one point or another, whether he's filling in for someone hurt or they just want to experiment with like 6 offensive linemen for whatever friggin' reason. But because some teams do that now. But, you know, I think he could end up being a starter long-term over Dan Moore once his contract expires or even before that. But, you know, with that, the depth is lacking. So if any of them get hurt, you know, that's when the Cam Ward stuff is going to come through where he throws under pressure and throws with different arm angles and stuff. But, you know, if they're all healthy, I think this is going to be a solid unit.
Yeah. And let's talk about the defense and specifically your dark horse, Cody Barton, the linebacker. What do you like at him?
Yeah, man, he's just a fun football player to watch. He had a career year in Denver last season, and the Titans very badly needed a linebacker. So they went out and get him in free agency. I believe he got like a 3-year, almost $40 million deal, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty solid deal for a linebacker. He posted career high grades in run defense and tackling at 79.9 and 84.8 respectively. So pretty much 80 and 85, which are both insanely good. He had 32 stops and TFLs to go with a 5.3% missed tackle rate, which is also really good. He was a bit below average in coverage, but did record 2 interceptions and 2 pass breakups. But he's not going to be as left out to dry in coverage as he was when he was in Denver. He's playing alongside James Williams, who's a converted safety out of Miami. He's like an Isaiah Simmons type build. He was like 6'4", 230 playing free safety, which is just ridiculous. I think he's a little bit better than Isaiah Simmons is right now because Simmons just has not been good at any stop in his career.
Yep.
So I think James Williams will take those will snaps and be asked to cover more of the tight end and slot receivers type guys, where Cody will just focus on running backs and slower body type people over the middle of the field, which I think will be a better fit for him. I think we're going to see a great year out of Cody Barton. And this is a little off tangent, but he has a little brother, Lander Barton. He plays linebacker at Utah where Cody played. Lander is, if he's not on your draft boards right now, put him on it. He's going to be an early day 2 pick next year. Guy's a freak. And hopefully he has a good year this year and makes good on that, because I love, when I was scouting Caleb Williams, he popped out to me because there was a screen and he took their center, drove him back 3 yards and literally yanked him and threw him to the ground and made a tackle for like a loss of 7. It was disgusting. And like every time I watch him, like this kid just gets better and better than that. Like, yeah. So Lander is going to be really solid, but to keep it about Cody, similar, he's gotten better and better every year. Cody's in for a career year in his first year in Tennessee.
Love it. And so for Tennessee, I mean, what's the mark of success for them this year? Is it a winning record? Is it just improvement all around? Is it proof that Cam Ward is the next guy, or is it some combination of all three?
I think just improvement offensively, because this defense is a wild card. Like L'Jarius Sneed is coming back from injury. Jeffrey Simmons took a step back last year, but should be good this year again because he's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Pass rush, there's a couple question marks here and there, but like offensively, just run a competent offense because they didn't have it last year. And defensively, if we look at their EPA metrics last year, they were bottom of the NFL in EPA in a lot of categories. And we can look at their total run or total defense stats. That's because their punting and special teams were so bad that the field was pretty much not flipping. Like they would punt and returns would come up and the defense would have a short distance to work with. That's why I look at EPA, because it's a more holistic way of looking at actual defensive quality. And this is someone who's skeptical about EPA even 2 years ago. Like I've very much I don't think it's the end all be all, but I think it paints the clearest picture for actual quality, right? And there's a lot of things that go into it, but this defense was bad last year, just plain and simple in terms of efficiency. And that's where I think bringing in someone like Cody Barton and getting L'Jarius Sneed back and Jeffrey Simmons coming back to his normal play style, like adding 3 starters like that who play at a high level, like that's going to improve this defense in and of itself, right? So now it's about getting this offense in a rhythm, continuing to let the offensive line improve, fleshing out the run game through Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, and just using the passing, because they have a good amount of weapons on this offense. Like Chigakwonkwo played better down the stretch at the end of last season, and he's very similar to Elijah Arroyo, who Cam Ward targeted frequently. Calvin Ridley is obviously Calvin Ridley. He's going to go for over 1K again this year because he's going to get 5 million targets. And there's like competition. There's legit competition for the wide receiver 2 spot with Alec Aomore, Chimikre. I'm gonna get the name wrong. I'm just gonna pull up their freaking roster. But even one of his favorite targets at Miami, Xavier Restrepo, is fighting for a roster spot, and like he's not like overly athletic, and he doesn't have a big catch radius. But if you put it on him, like he's catching it, and he might make something happen even without that much athleticism. But in terms of this offense, Tyler Lockett, they signed in free agency, just a reliable receiver. Van Jefferson is up there. Jamire Dike, Alec Aomanor, who I brought up earlier. There's some good depth in this receiving room. Gunnar Helm, the tight end out of Texas, is going to be their true Y. And Chig is going to be the H-back, and Chig's going to get those split tight end reps in passing situations. Like, it's making for a pretty okay offense. Now it's just up to Cam Ward to use these guys and make something happen with them, which I am more than confident he has the ability to elevate this team.